Do you struggle to stay consistent on your journey to achieving your blessing? If so, stay tuned and I will teach you how to stay on the road long enough to see results today. What is going on, everyone? We are back for another episode of Prospering with Christ. I hope that you had a wonderful week last week, and I hope that this week will be just as amazing to you as well. So, for today's episode, we are discussing not taking your foot off of the gas. If you've been listening to my previous episodes, then you know that lately we have been discussing how God does not always drop our blessing into our laps all at one time. In some circumstances, yes, he wants to give you the desires of your heart immediately. But in other circumstances, sometimes he wants to ease you into that blessing. He wants to ease you into that breakthrough. And so he starts giving you small wins. He starts giving you small success. He starts giving you a hint. He starts giving you a taste of your breakthrough. And for some of us, because we have been on this journey for so long, because we have experienced so many failures, so many setbacks, so many hardships, obstacles, and storms, when God starts to ease us into that breakthrough, and when we start to see those small wins, when we start to achieve those short-term goals, we get to a point where we feel satisfied. We get to a point where we feel like we have succeeded. We get to a point where we feel like we are okay, and we start slowing down and coming to a stop on our journey to our breakthrough. And as time goes on, that satisfaction that we felt, that success that we felt, that accomplishment that we felt starts to die down. And we start to get discouraged. We start to feel unsatisfied. We start to feel uncomfortable. We start to feel unfulfilled. And the reason why that happens is because God is saying, you stopped when I called you to keep going. When I started easing you into your breakthrough, when you started to get a taste of what that breakthrough looks like, you started to get a taste of how that blessing feels, you started to slow down. You stopped the car. You blocked me and you stopped going. You became satisfied with something that was just the beginning of your breakthrough. It was something that was temporary. There's a reason why this thing was called a short-term goal. There's a reason why this thing is called a small win, because it's small, because it's short, because it's temporary. It is not the best that God had for you. It is not the greatness that God had for you. It is something that you're supposed to achieve on your way to that greatness. It's something you're supposed to achieve on your way to that victory. It's something that's supposed to show you how God is with you. Because as you achieve this short-term goal, as you achieve this small win, it keeps you motivated to keep going into the things that God has called for you, into the things that God has promised you. But you took that and you stopped. You took that win and you stopped. You took that win and you parked the car. And that is why you are discouraged, because it was never in God's intention for you to stay here. It was never in God's intention for you to be satisfied there. God said that that blessing was only going to satisfy you for a season. That blessing was just fuel to gas you up, to keep you going to what he had for you, to keep you going to the end destination, to keep you going to your victory. But the problem is, you're not using this as gas. You're not using this to fuel you up to keep going. You are using this as satisfaction. You are using this as an excuse to stop. You know that this is not what you were praying for. You know that this is not what God promised you, but you're using this as an excuse to stay here. You're using this as an excuse to stop taking the journey to your breakthrough. And you wonder why you are not seeing the things that you have been praying for. And God is saying it is because you keep getting out the car when it's not time for you to stop. You keep getting off the road when it's not time for you to stop. You keep settling for something that was not my best for you. Yes, I know that this small win feels good. Yes, I know that it feels even better because you've been on this road for so long. You went through so much on this journey. You experienced so much hardships on this journey. And I know that it feels good to finally get a breakthrough. It feels good to finally get a yes. It feels good to finally get a blessing. But God is saying, this is not the blessing that I'm intending to give you. So as you take this blessing, do not take your foot off of the gas. Use this blessing. Use this short-term result. Use this short-term win as fuel to gas you up and motivate you to keep going and keep following me to get to what I actually have for you. When you start seeing wins in your life, that is not a sign for you to take your foot off of the gas. That is not a sign for you to stay here. That is not a sign for you to settle for this and say that this is the best that God is going to do for you. This is a sign for you to keep pushing. This is a sign for you to keep pursuing. This is a sign for you to press forward harder. This is a sign for you to trust God harder, because if God can do this in your life, if God can do this in your circumstance, if God can help you achieve this, then He can bring you what He promised to give you. He can bring you that thing that you've been praying for every single day. But in order for you to get it, in order for you to see His hand move, you got to keep moving. If you want God to move, you have to move. You cannot park the car and expect God to continue moving. You cannot park the car and expect to meet God at that breakthrough that He has for you. You have to keep going. You have to keep moving. You have to keep pursuing. You cannot take your foot off of the gas. Have you ever had a time in your life where you were praying to God for something and you felt like you were close? You felt like you can sense that blessing. You can sense that breakthrough. You felt like it was right around the corner, like you were almost there, like you were about to get it, like a door was about to open, but then you didn't get it. Maybe you felt this way years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Until this day, although you felt close, although you felt like something was about to happen, you felt like you were in a season of transition, you felt like things were shifting in your life, you felt like God was moving, you could feel it in your spirit. It's like your spirit was grabbing on to that breakthrough. Your spirit was reaching out to that breakthrough because that's how close you are. You felt something inside that was telling you that you were so close. But till this day, you did not get that breakthrough. See, when that happens to us, we tend to feel like maybe we were tripping. Maybe we were tripping. Maybe it was all in our head. Maybe that was emotions that we were feeling and not our spirit. We tend to downplay it because we felt like if it really was something, if something great really was about to happen in our life, if we really were close to our breakthrough, then we should have achieved it. And because we did not achieve it, we convince ourselves that what we felt was not what we felt. We convince ourselves that maybe we were tripping. We convince ourselves that maybe it was emotions. Maybe it was gas and it wasn't your spirit. You convince yourself that it was not what you thought it was. It was not a sign from God. It was not your spirit aligning to your breakthrough because you were that close to it. And if you've ever experienced anything like that, then I want to confirm to you right now that what you felt was something. It was not your emotions. You were not tripping. You were not over exaggerating. What you felt was something. You were close. It was a sign from God. You were about to experience something great. But sometimes the reason why you didn't see the end of that road, sometimes the reason why you didn't see God confirm to you that what you were feeling was your breakthrough is because somewhere along the line, you took your foot off the gas, you stopped going, and you stayed where you were. And in order for you to make it to the other side and actually see your breakthrough and actually see the greatness that God has for you, you're going to have to determine, why do you keep stopping? Why do you keep turning around? Why do you keep aborting the mission that God has you on to get to your breakthrough? Why do you keep giving up after you see your first accomplishment? Why do you keep giving up after you start seeing signs, after you start feeling in your spirit that you are close to your breakthrough? Why do you keep stopping? You have to be real with yourself. And one of the reasons why you could be stopping is it could be that deep down inside, you are afraid. Fear is the number one thing that holds many people back from achieving their goals. And you can be afraid for many different reasons. But one of the main reasons why people are afraid, and this reason is often overlooked as well, is that you are afraid of success. As much as you say that you want that breakthrough, as much as you say that you want to see God move in your life, as much as you say that you want to shift your circumstance, that you want to change your entire life, the thought of that happening, the thought of you actually stepping out, trying and succeeding in that scares you. And sometimes when you are on this journey to your breakthrough and God starts easing you into that breakthrough, and you start transitioning from a season of failing, a season of hardships, to a season of winning. You're in a season where when you step out and you try, you see results. When you step out and you try, it works. God is answering you. He's not answering you in the big way that you want him to, but you're starting to hear him. You're starting to see him move little by little in your life. And that is confirming to you that you are close. That is confirming to you that he's about to start doing the things that you actually want him to do. He's about to start doing the things that you've been praying for him to do. And it scares you because the thought of you actually having that blessing makes you afraid. The thought of you actually living a life like that makes you afraid. The thought of you actually transitioning into this place, this circumstance, this environment where this has been all that you've known your entire life. The people in your life has been all that you've known. Where you live has been all that you've known. How you act have been all that you've known. From you transitioning to where you are now, to where you've been praying and telling God that you want to be, scares you. And so you stop because you are too afraid to see what God actually wants to do for you, to see what God has promised to do in your life. And if this sounds like you, then you have to take a moment and you have to be real with God. You have to tell him that you are afraid of the blessing. You are afraid of succeeding. You are afraid of things actually working out. And you have to work with him to get to the bottom of that fear. What is it about this blessing that makes you afraid? What is it about this success that makes you afraid? I can tell you from experience that when I used to struggle with fear of success, it was because although I wanted that breakthrough, I did not know that I can handle it. I was not confident that I can handle it. I was afraid of jeopardizing that breakthrough. I was afraid of mismanaging that breakthrough. And so the thought of me actually walking into it scared me because I did not know what to do with it. I did not know how I would be with it. I did not know if I would fumble it. And as soon as I told that to God, and as soon as I opened up and I became vulnerable and I told him, God, I'm afraid of having the things that I asked you for. I'm afraid of having the things that you promised me because I don't know how I can handle it. I don't know if I will handle it. I don't know if I will jeopardize it. I don't know if I will lose it and come back to where I started. I am afraid. And as soon as I told him that, he started to help me by preparing me. He prepared me and gave me wisdom so that I understood how to handle it. I understood how to manage it. I understood how to steward it. See, when you make the decision to be honest with God, he doesn't judge you. He's not going to say, well, I'm not going to give you the blessing because you're afraid. No, he's going to help you. He's going to work on you. He's going to help you conquer this so that you can be over this as you walk into the blessing. And so you have to be honest with God and you have to tell him why you fear success. Are you afraid of success because you know that in order for you to fully get that blessing, in order for you to fully walk into that blessing, you're going to have to remove some friends. You're going to have to remove some family members. And you've known these people your entire lives. You've known these people since you were in the second grade. You've known these people since you were a baby. And you are so afraid to walk into this new season without these people by your side. Are you afraid because in order for you to get that blessing, you have to change your environment? Maybe you got to go to the suburbs, but you were raised in the hood and you don't know anybody who has your demeanor. You don't know anybody who's your skin color. You don't know anybody who has your personality. You don't know anybody who talks the way that you talk, who's living in that type of environment. And although you want better for yourself, you are so afraid to let go of things and people that you have adapted from where you came from. You have to be honest with God. God, I am afraid of this blessing. I am afraid of this blessing because of this reason. I'm afraid to let go of them. I'm afraid of the change. I'm afraid that I can't handle it. I am afraid of this actually working out. Maybe you're afraid because as much as you talk about faith, as much as you talk about God being a miracle worker, you are afraid of that actually happening. You are afraid of God proving his power to you. Maybe although you go to church and although you live a life for Christ, you still struggle to fully believe that God is real. You still struggle to fully believe that God, somebody that you cannot see, has this much power. And maybe you are afraid to see it. But you have to get down to the root of your fear and take that fear to God and ask him to help you. Because as long as you stay in this place of being afraid of success, you will not see your blessing. You will never see your breakthrough because you're going to be so afraid that you continue to stop. You're going to be so afraid that every single time that you get close, you take your foot off the gas. You turn around and go back to where you came from. You jeopardize blessings. You jeopardize opportunities because you're too afraid to see what God has for you. Another reason why we stop on our journey to success is because when we start to experience those small wins, we start to feel like what we are accomplishing is enough. If we're being honest, a lot of us are not used to being spoiled and living a life of abundance. Maybe we came from families who always told us what we couldn't have, what we couldn't afford, and what we couldn't do. Maybe our parents had a lot of children and we had a lot of siblings, and that means that the things that we could have was limited. We can only have so many clothes. We can only have so much money. We can only eat so much food. We're not used to living a life of miracles. We're not used to living a life of abundance. We're not used to being in a position where we can have more than enough. We were brought up in environments where people would tell us if we ask for more, then we are asking for too much. You are doing too much. You want too much. You're ungrateful. Why can't you just be grateful for the little that you have? And being raised in those type of environments has birthed a mentality of settling in us. And every time that God starts to bless us and he starts to give us a little bit, we feel like that's enough because we don't want to ask for too much. We don't want to do too much. And God is saying, I understand that you're not used to being spoiled. I understand that you were taught that you were asking for too much. But when you decided to give your life to Christ, when you decided to turn to me, when you decided to live for me, I have adopted you and you have become my child. And now you have to get accustomed to how it feels to have a parent like me. I understand that you were taught from a place of poverty. I understand that you were taught that you can't do things, that you can't have things, that you're asking for too much, that you're dreaming too big, but I called you for greater. I called you to do the opposite of what you were taught. See, humans taught you that. Humans operate like that. People in your environment operates like that, but God does not operate like that. And God is saying, if you want to experience my blessings, if you want to get this breakthrough, if you want to fully live life for me, not only living and doing right by me, but walking in the purposes that I have for you, walking in the plans that I have for you, doing the things that I called you to do, living in the greatness that I've given to you, living in the greatness that I've written on your name. You are going to have to get rid of how you were taught. You are going to have to get rid of the ways that you used to operate, and you are going to have to learn how to operate in his ways. You are going to have to learn how to do things his way. Settling is not something that God called you to do. And there is a reason why every single time that you settle, every single time that you get a taste of your breakthrough and you take it and you stop, it only satisfies you temporarily. It only satisfies you for a season. As time goes on, you start to get discouraged. As time goes on, you start to feel unsatisfied. As time goes on, your heart and your spirit is craving for more. And God is saying your heart and your spirit is craving for more because it's trying to align with me. I called you for greater. I want to do greater in your life. I want to open you up to greater blessings. I want to open you up to greater breakthroughs. I want to use you to do greatness on this earth. I want to use you to do greatness in other people's lives. But in order for me to do that, you have to accept the calling. The reason why your heart and your spirit is desiring this greatness, it feels unsatisfied, it feels unfulfilled, is because it's trying to meet God where God is calling you to, but you're getting in the way. Your fear is getting in the way. Your mindset is getting in the way. The way you were raised is getting in the way. The way you operate is getting in the way. And God is saying you are going to have to let go of the mentality of settling. You're going to have to let go of thinking that what I blessed you with is enough. This was never supposed to be enough. This was just supposed to be a test. This was just supposed to be a trial. Have you ever signed up for a membership and you get a free trial so that you can test it and see if you like it? God is saying this is your free trial so that you can sign up and live in this fully. This is your free trial so that you can sign up and operate in this fully, so that this can be your new reality. But you have to stop accepting the trial as enough and start using it as fuel to keep you going to see what he has for you. Another reason why we stop on our road to success is because we are afraid of losing. I say this all the time. Our road to success and our road to our breakthrough is not going to be easy. Yes, right now we're talking about the other side. We're talking about when you're close to the breakthrough. We're talking about when you're starting to see results. We're talking about when you're about to accomplish the breakthrough. But that's not how the entire journey feels. On that journey, you are going to experience a lot of hardships. You're going to experience a lot of setbacks. You're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes. Things are going to be tough. Sometimes you are going to go through a season of losing. Sometimes you are going to go through a season where you are trying everything and it feels like no matter how hard you try, you cannot get a win. And a lot of times that season comes before this season. That season comes before you transition into being close, before you transition into starting to see small results. And some of us are traumatized by that losing season. Some of us are so discouraged by that losing season that we are afraid to step out and try again because we are so afraid of losing. It's good that we experience this win. It's good that we experience this accomplishment, but we are afraid that this was just a one-time win. We are afraid that this was just good luck. And we feel like the next time that we step out and try, we're going to lose again. The next time that we step out and try, we're going to fail. The next time that we push forward and try and get to our breakthrough, this win is not going to be our experience. The experience of failing, the experience of losing is going to be what we feel. And we are so afraid of losing again that we accept this small win and say, okay, that's enough. I'll just settle here because at least here I can say that I accomplished something. I don't want to go past this state. I don't want to go past this stage and then have to lose again and have to be in a worse position again and have to go back to how things were before I accomplished this success. Some of us stop where we are because we are afraid of losing again. And if that is you, then you have to acknowledge the trauma that you experience on the journey. and you have to go to God and you have to work with him to overcome that trauma. Tell him, my experience on this journey, my experience of failing, of losing, of making mistakes has traumatized me. And I am so afraid to step out again. I am so afraid to try again. I just want to stay here because at least right here, I can say that I accomplished something. At least right here, I can say that I seen success. At least right here, I can say that I did it. But I don't know if I can say that if I move forward. I don't know if I can say that if I move to the next destination. I don't know if I can say that if I step out and try on the next thing. So I'm just going to stay here. Vulnerability opens you up to God's help. And the problem with a lot of us is that we feel this way, but we don't give it to God. We give God the fake. We tell God that we trust him, although this is how we feel behind closed doors. We tell God that we'll follow his lead and he can guide us. But when it's time for him to guide us, we don't move. We be disobedient because this is how we feel behind closed doors. And God can handle everything. He can handle your blessing. He can handle your breakthrough. He can handle you, and he can handle every mindset, every thought, every fear, every character flaw, every mistake, everything that comes with you, he can handle. And so if you open yourself up and you be honest with him and you say, God, this is why I have stopped. God, this is why I'm not pressing forward. God, this is why I'm not being obedient to you anymore. He will help you. And if you're somebody where you feel like you are traumatized by your journey, you experienced some things on your faith journey and it made you afraid. You started this journey with a lot of faith. You started this journey with a lot of confidence. You felt like you can conquer anything, but your experiences has stopped that. Your experiences has killed that mindset in you. Then we did an episode. It was episode 143 called Traumatized by the Journey. And I want you to go back and I want you to listen to it because that episode is going to help you get over your trauma and heal from your trauma so that you can move forward into the things that God called you to do. Are you enjoying this episode so far? Is this episode teaching you how to keep your foot on the gas? If so, then I want you to do me two favors. Favor number one, I want you to leave a review. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this episode. Leave an honest review and let me and others know how you are enjoying the show. And favor number two, if you know anyone who struggles to keep their foot on the gas, maybe they start to experience some small wins, but then they stop, then I want you to send this episode to them. Let this episode motivate and encourage them the same way that it is motivating and encouraging you. Now let's get back to the show. I mentioned this earlier, but the reason why it's so easy for us to stop on this journey is because we adapt and we operate in what we are used to. And a lot of us are used to struggle. See, the reason why it was easy for us to keep going, the reason why it was easy for us to stay on this course when we were at the beginning of the journey, when we were going through the storms, when we were going through the hardships, where we were going through the struggles, is because struggle is all that we know. We have struggled our entire lives. We have struggled our entire existence. We have learned how to adapt to struggle. And so going through those struggles was our norm. Yeah, it sucked. Yeah, it didn't feel good. Yeah, it was hard. But that's what we were used to. What was the alternative? We were either going to struggle doing it God's way or struggle on our own because struggle is all that we know. And so it's so easy for us to continue on a path of struggle because that's what we're used to operating in. But now we're in a season of transition. We're in a season where God is transitioning us from struggling to succeeding, from failing to accomplishing. And success is unfamiliar to us. We're not used to living a life of success. We're not used to actually doing things and it's working. We're not used to being well off. We're used to lack. We're used to poverty. We're used to limited. We're used to all these negative things. But God is trying to transition us from a season of negativity to positivity. and we're not used to it. It's clashing with the way that we operate. We operate from a place of struggle. We operate from a place of lack. We operate from a place of survival. God is saying, I don't want you to survive anymore. I want you to thrive. I don't want you to struggle anymore. I want you to live in abundance, but you have to learn how to change. And this is the reason why God calls us to change. This is the reason why before God blesses us, before God brings us into that breakthrough, he likes to break things off of us. He likes to do some internal work inside of us because he wants to transform us. He wants to change us because he knows that the way that we operate now is going to clash with who he's calling us to be. The way that we operate now is not going to work in the new environment and the new things that he's calling us to. He's saying, I understand that you came from a negative place. I understand that you had to live your entire life on survival. I understand that you had to live your entire life with lack, with limited resources, from a place of poverty, from a place of struggling. But in this new season, I want to change your reality. In this new season, I want to do something new to you. In this new season, I want to take you to something that's unfamiliar to you. It may be unfamiliar now, but as you start to walk in it, as you start to trust me, this is about to become your new norm. See, for a lot of us, we have been taught that this is evil. We have been taught that succeeding, living in abundance, living in prosperity is evil. When people hear the word prosperity, they be like, oh my God, I don't want to listen to that because you feel like it's evil. You feel like it's not God. But God is saying abundance, success, prosperity is your birthright. I did not call you to struggle. I did not call you to lack. I did not call you to live with the bare minimum. I did not call you to be poor. I called you to succeed. And until you get rid of that mindset of feeling like this is evil, you will not see my hand move, because every single time that you see my hand move, you feel like it's wrong. Every single time that you see my hand move, you feel like it's evil. Every single time that you see my hand move, you turn back because you feel like this can't be me. But abundance is your birthright. Blessings is your birthright. God is trying to transition you. God is trying to shift your norm. But in order for him to do that, you're going to have to do the hard work. You're going to have to get rid of the things that is blocking you from continuing moving forward. You're going to have to get rid of the things that is making you settle for the bare minimum of what God had for you, for the free trial of what God had for you. You're going to have to get rid of every single blockage and keep going on this journey. If you want to keep going after you start seeing wins on your journey, then every single time that you achieve something, every single time that you see a small win or a small blessing, take a moment and thank God for it, but then ask him what's next. See, we really have to learn how to fully practice what we preach, because we always say that God is the head of our life. We always say that we let God lead. But in reality, we only let him lead on certain things. We only let him lead on what we feel like he should lead on. Sometimes we follow his will, but then when we see one result from his will, we turn and we start following our own lead. When you start seeing that result, you make the decision for yourself to stop. You did not seek God and ask him, hey, God, do you want me to stop here? You did not seek God and ask him, hey, God, is this a season of rest now? You did not seek God and ask him, hey, is this all that you have for me? No, you followed your own lead. You made your own decision. You followed your own path. You followed your own instruction. And you're going to have to learn how to let God lead in every single area of your life. So after you achieve that win, after you see success, after you see a little bit of a blessing, you want to take a moment and show God gratitude. This is for the people who feel like if you keep pursuing, you're being ungrateful. No, we're taking a moment and we're telling God, God, thank you. God, I'm grateful for this. God, it may be small to somebody, but it's big to me. However, I want to follow your lead. I want to know if this is all that you have for me. I want to know if this is the place that you want me to stop. I want to know if this is the place that you want me to sit, or was this just fuel to gas me up to keep going? Was this just fuel to gas me up to keep pursuing? We want to show God gratitude for the blessing that he just gave us. But we want to ask him, what's next? And after we ask him what's next, ask him how to get to that next. Do I take this highway or that highway? Do I take this road or that road? Because like I said, God is the lead in every area of our life. So we don't want to just ask him what's next. We want to ask him, what is his way? What is his plan? What road does he want us to take to get to that next thing? Have you ever dreamed of making your voice heard and sharing your message with the world? Well, it's time to turn that dream into a reality by starting your very own podcast. I understand that many aspiring podcasters are held back by the worries of cost, complexity, and the time it takes to launch a podcast. That is why I'm excited to announce my new training program that has all the tools and knowledge you need to launch your very own podcast for free. My training will guide you through every single step of your podcast journey. You will learn how to plan, release, market, and grow your podcast from start to finish. So if you're ready to take a leap of faith and share your message with the world, click the link in the description below to access my new podcast training. Now let's get back to the show. The second thing that you want to do is you want to stay close to God. Because if we're being honest, there's a lot of people who use God. They pray when they need something. They fast when they need something. They read their Bible when they need something. But as soon as God gives them that answer, or even a taste of that answer, they say, thank you, God. I'll talk to you when I need you again. Thank you, God. I'll see you the next time I need a blessing. And they don't spend any more time with him. Or if they do spend time with him, that time dies down. See, maybe you used to fast once a week. Maybe you used to spend 30 minutes reading your Bible. Maybe you used to spend an hour in prayer. But now that you're starting to see results, now that you're starting to enter your blessing, you don't fast anymore. You haven't fasted in 3 months. You read your Bible every other day. You pray for 5 minutes. Your time with God has decreased because you're starting to see results. But if you become the type of person who has a genuine relationship with him, where you have a relationship with him not only in the bad, but in the good, not only before the breakthrough, but after the breakthrough, if you stay close to God, then it's going to make it easier for you to stay on his path because I'm still in his presence. I am close enough to hear him so that he can redirect me when I am misdirected. The next thing that you want to do is you want to work on your obedience. We have to develop a heart of obedience. And being obedient means doing whatever God tells us to do, no matter if we understand, no matter if it doesn't make sense, no matter if it's not fully clear. We're doing whatever he tells us to do. Because if you remain in a heart of obedience, if you remain to be obedient to God, then when he tells you to get up and keep moving after this breakthrough, when he tells you to get up and keep moving after that small win, you're going to continue to move, whether you want to or not. It's going to be easier for you to keep your foot on the gas because you're walking in alignment with God. You're doing what God wants you to do. And if he does not want you to stop, if he does not want you to turn around, if he does not want you to give up, then you won't. And the last thing that you want to do is you want to aim to live a life of surrender. See, the reason why it's so easy for us to stop is because we are doing what we feel is right. We are doing what we think is right. But we have to learn how to fully surrender to God. I'm surrendering what I think is right. I'm surrendering what I'm too afraid will happen. I'm surrendering how I want to do things. I'm surrendering how I think things are going to work out. And I'm fully doing what God tells me to do. So even if I feel like this is enough, even if I feel like I'm not deserving of more, even if I feel like I should settle here, I am surrendering my opinion. I am surrendering my thoughts. I am surrendering how I want to do things to fully trust how God wants to do it. We're not turning around in this season. We're not giving in to the fear of success. We're not giving in to the fear of losing. We're not giving in to the thoughts of settling because we're not deserving of more. And we're not giving in to the thoughts that are telling us that we are asking for too much. We are opening ourselves up and we are allowing God to do the inner work in us so that He can shift us into a new reality. Remember that abundance, success, it is your birthright. I understand that you are used to a life of struggle, but God is saying you have to get rid of that mentality of struggle. You have to strip down that mentality of struggle, and you have to get ready to live a life of success, to live a life of miracles, to live a life of having more than enough. This is what it looks like when you are in transition from a season of failing, of losing, of poverty, of lack, of limited, and you are going into a season of prosperity. You are going into a season of success. But in order to get it, you have to keep your foot on the gas. Every time that you experience a small win, tell God thank you, but ask Him what's next and how do you get that next. Stay close to Him in this season. And as you stay close to Him, walk in obedience and live a life of surrender. And so my action step for you today is I want you to think about a small win that you have accomplished recently. And I want you to take some time, tell God thank you for helping you achieve that, but ask Him, what is next? What does He want you to focus on after that? What does He want you to do after that? And how does He want you to achieve it? But that is all that I have for you today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you subscribe so that you get a notification every time a new episode is released. And also leave a review and let me and others know how you are enjoying the show. And if you want to stay connected to me, make sure that you follow me on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at Prospering with Christ. But that's all I have for you today, and I will see you next week.